Hello, everybody. Today we joined into the Treasury Guild discussion, where we again take agenda items from community, the hot topics, and try to figure out how do we make the ambassador program sustainable and in a way that it grows positively. And we have an idea from kind of a process basically between us that we try to use a new method of going through our agenda items. The model is, and on the top of the channel, the basic idea is that we're gonna take an agenda item and then we talk about, do we have a context about this topic? If we do, then we decide, do we want a proposal about that? If no, then we move into clarifications and get some kind of decision on an outcome out of that agenda item. And so that will be our way to go. So the agenda items are now in particular order. These are the red sticky notes. First item, what kind of roles do we need? And budget for Telegram manager, budget Discord manager. So basically roles for ambassador program, and which one do we need? Does everybody have context about that? Do you know what we think about roles? If nobody knows, then ask away.
Should we do reactions to this or all say yes?
Basically, if nobody says no, then we go into the second option. Do we actually want a proposal about that? That we put like a writing in front of us, or we don't need a proposal, and then we basically gonna start answer our questions and brainstorm it from here.
Could be cool to do a sound off with each item and just go around the group. Yes, no, yes, no. Okay.
But technically we don't need that, because right now, if you start opposing it, then we move forward.
Nice.
Yeah, so I think let's do like 1 minute. I'm gonna share the Motherboard link and everybody just brainstorms what kind of roles do we need on the Motherboard. 2 examples are there based on the Discord managers. On clarifying point, I think we are talking about roles which will then gain monthly budget to do their role. Am I correct, Peter?
Yeah, basically stuff that like contributions which are not so much micromanaged on task level but are recurring. For example, I'll add it to the motherboard, but like uploading the town halls right now, that would be it might even not be the best example, because that's somewhat manageable on task level. But for example, leading a work group would be a role. Also both the social media manager in general, Twitter indeed. Yeah, so stuff which you don't tick off every time with a separate task, but it's just something you ongoingly do.
Make the sticky note smaller. Then I'm gonna use this timer. Gonna give everybody 3 minutes, and then let's brainstorm stuff from your local environment and then expand outwards. And after that, let's regroup. Okay, so what do we do next? What kind of roles would we need? Then how do we budget them now? Do we just throw everybody 1,000 AGX and see what happens? Sign up. What?
Well, something which comes to mind to budget and roles, like it's also work that we shouldn't, or at least in my mind, it doesn't really make sense to work with the same hourly rate as yeah, more concrete tasks. For example, the Telegram admin group we have now, yeah, there's people who are super committed and spend a lot of time, but you know, you're not gonna track like, oh, I sat on Telegram for 3 hours during today, and then it's just not doesn't feel like the right approach to on the hour tracking side of things. So that's also related on the concept of roles, rather. Just as a side remark.
Yeah, then we kind of see two different types of tasks here. So one can be easily tracked by time, and then the ones which burden to track by time. If you don't have any duplicates, let's put these into two different buckets then. Take Twitter management, although I don't know much about Twitter management.
Yeah, I'd say from Twitter side, like could probably easily do like 20 minutes a day or something pretty minimal just to like and retweet tweets, make tweets, look into like other accounts to follow in the AI and crypto space, that type of thing. Maybe at some point it'd be cool to do like some spaces or help co-host spaces within the ecosystem if that's of interest to anybody in the foundation, stuff like that. But it's a really low amount of time, I'd say.
Mm. The YouTube manager, I think, is somewhere in the actually somewhere in the middle, because right now I'm been in teams where YouTube management is such an annoying thing because everybody just comments there, and if it's blockchain related, token related, they post like these kind of scam messages, and you're going to have to manually deal with them. I think right now we're very small, but that there is like a caveat there. It can turn into burden to track if you need to tell every time that you deleted the message. Okay, so in general, so we have 4 type of roles. Twitter management. What is Twitter management? Is it also related to like the feedback, what you can get, or it's more like announcing stuff?
Yeah, just anything to do with Twitter.
That's a rabbit hole.
Just running it. It doesn't, yeah.
I find it very interesting because there's some that are in the can be easily tracked by time pile, which I disagree with, and I'm not sure whether it's just me needing better management skills or whether yeah or not. But yeah,
That's interesting that you said that. Then let's do like this. How many people are on the Mara board? Let's say, I don't know, 4. Pull everything. Oh my god. But everybody takes one of that pile, put your, I don't know, name here. This is Peter. This is gonna be me. This is gonna be David, so on. Yeah, and everybody takes these sticky notes and then kind of copies them around and then creates their own graph. So then when we aggregate it together again, then we see the difference of how do we think what something takes time. So I'm gonna do it in my own corner.
I don't mind this, but at the same time, I would like to know that, in my mind at least, the whole idea of something being a role is that you don't track the time at all.
Yeah, that's the kind of point. But I think the difference here is we want to find the middle way. Where do we now have a different methodology of budgeting a role, and which we still can kind of find a way to tweet role, but somewhat rewarded task-based, or like proved by task-based, I guess. All right, so on the most right side, we have budget, Telegram, manager, budget, Telegram, budget, Discord, Telegram, Discord, Telegram. Here, I think everybody agrees. Discord, Telegram, Discord, Telegram, Discord, Telegram. Does anybody have a budget for Twitter manager, for example, where that seems to be different? Somebody has a middle budget for Discord manager. I have I have very far, because I'm not quite sure actually what is this about. So there are definitely two differences. So who can be easily tracked by time Twitter management?
I did. I've been doing it so far. Like I said, I think it's like I could allocate easily like 15, 20 minutes a day towards it. So I think that's kind of easy to think about in that way. I guess in the future it could depend if we're doing any spaces or anything like that could take an hour long or something, but for right now, I think anywhere from 15, 20, 30 minutes a day is pretty simple way to look at it.
What
I
do you
think
do?
I think that brings up a good point about how we look at this in terms of there may be assumptions in how we do different ways of doing a process, but how Grandana explained it now and his kind of way of working, maybe each of us have like a kind of optimum way of working in these tasks, especially for someone not so experienced coming in. Sorry to jump in.
Yeah, it makes sense. So for Twitter, like hop on, there's a SingularityNet ecosystem page of like 40 some odd participants. So like liking and retweeting posts through there, curating a tweet before like meetings or the deep funding town hall, that type of stuff. And then I could like allocate some time to looking like what's popular in the AI space and could leave comments on those types of posts as well. But I haven't been doing that part right now. So I'd say that's why I say like maybe 15, 30 minutes a day, something like that.
Does it include announcing, or maybe you said it, but I was typing, like announcing the events we have, any of process could stuff, or no?
So I didn't do Treasury today, but like last night I did like a deep funding town hall post, and I did a post about the town hall that David put on YouTube. Today before deep funding town hall, I plan on making a post here after this meeting. So that way it'll be about an hour and a half, 2 hours before the deep funding town hall.
Meeting opportunities. Yeah. So in the way what you are saying, that the way you easily distract, that to say that on this day I managed the basically Twitter tasks, and everybody, when they say that this day something did something, then they can assume it was either liking or reposting or commenting, like basically going through a checklist of looking partners and sharing something from us ourselves. Do I get that right?
For sure. Yeah, I'd say I hop on, check the ecosystem list, like and retweet, and then make posts if there's a town hall or something going on.
Now, if you would need to measure that, okay, so you say 50 minutes. Do you say it's 50 minutes per day, per week, what's the ratio?
I think easily 15 minutes a day.
I think with a lot of these things that it's almost like we're paying for a retainer, like how you retain a lawyer or something, that someone that's kind of on call all the time, even though they may not have to do something all the time, they have to be quick at kind of being on it, checking messages, being up to date with communications.
Yeah, that's true. It is something like as times go on too, you know, if people are posting and marketing like, hey, I think this would be a good retweet, or I think we should make a tweet about X, Y, or Z, stuff like that. That could be a bit out of the time frame. And then, like I was saying, in the future, if there's Twitter spaces from somebody in the ecosystem, the ambassador account could be a co-host to those events. Those events could last for an hour, but that's not something that's currently being done, but something to think about in the future.
Well, to me, the co-hosting of live streams is kind of a completely different thing. Like I wouldn't see it
Yeah.
as a default included thing for the person managing Twitter.
Yeah, you're totally right.
But then co-hosting stuff would be perfectly fine, task-based in my mind. I'm not sure if that would. Yeah, there's not so many of them right
Yeah,
to make
be
a whole
hard to put a role on something like that.
Right. So in terms of budget for management now, I would also choose to be on the left side of that, because now the solution here is that whoever is Twitter manager, you can trust them that they are doing liking, commenting, and reposting stuff. The way we check it is basically every 2 months or every month there is a person who checks is there any activity going on. If not, then it goes back to Treasury Guild head that something's missing. Where it gets diluted now is that if multiple people are going to have access to Twitter and the manager himself is not doing anything, but the other community members are posting their stuff, that could be confusing because you will never get the bad actor out. So that's come a bit based on the trust. Yeah, for now, I think Twitter management budget is quite simple. If we choose that if 50 minutes per day is enough, then it's actually even easy to kind of calculate the kind of cost, and you either triple it or quadruple it based on just the intrinsic value that you need to get into the idea of opening up Twitter and checking what Sarah doing. And it's not just 15 minutes of doing stuff, it's preparing to get into the task and then leaving a task into another environment. So I'm gonna do a calculator, and then let's get then like a monthly cost and then see if the number makes sense. 50 minutes per 7 days, and now we have week worth, and let's say we have 4 weeks, and right now this is 7 hours of work, which would be $70, because we feel like we want to give them a human expression, we increase it by 4, so it's like hour. And then perhaps hopefully what it changes to do is not just spend 50 minutes on Twitter, but do it maybe twice a day sometimes when there's a lot of activity. So $280, which later is to be put into AJAX. Would that make sense? Does that sound good? Any reactions?
I'm a little confused. So this is basically 28 hours worth, but where does the times 4 come from? If we have a quarter a day,
time force is basically like 50 minutes task is like, sure, you can put it in a robust way, but if you kind of expand it by the fact that person has to think about doing Twitter, he has to open it up, then get your state of mind into doing Twitter. And once he's done, he completed, he retweeted, he puts it away. He now actually takes his state of mind from that, whatever he read from Twitter, and apply to the next activity or his free time or whatever he has next. So there is never really like there is still kind of work involved, but like your energy was there. And then if you increase it more than just 50 minutes, it gives that like bonus where leeway that like maybe he doesn't check it only once per day, but twice a day, because there was more activity, and kind of feel that most of the times your time is well rewarded.
Yeah, fair. No, I get that. So we would basically allocate an hour for 15 minutes or 2 times 15 minutes.
And the expected output is like 50 minutes worth of value. Yeah.
Makes me, as a side note, also think I should negotiate my contract. That would mean I'm should be charging for 16 hours a day.
Yeah.
But sorry.
This is
That
how
makes
it works.
sense.
I think it's a really good idea, and I think perhaps it's something that we can look at with a table, like what the figures are if we scale it up by 4 or 3, say to get some different variables to look at. But in general, I think it's a very good way to do it.
Yeah, and it could be something too, like maybe the first town hall of every month, people with roles, they kind of, tell everybody really quick, like, hey, this is what I did for the last month. This is my role, just that way community or anything like that, if they have any pros and cons to it, they can voice their opinions as well. And that way there's kind of a track record on what's going on.
Another thing I'm just defending, even though I don't need to do it, is that I think it's worth rewarding the fact that this includes also Saturday and Sunday. So it's like the commitment. The person gets paid for the trust to commit on all 7 days.
Yeah, and I'm kind of more up for paying people maybe a little bit more, and we engage their kind of engage them a lot more through kind of valuing them, that I think like perhaps we may look at it and say, oh well, but 15 minutes a day allocation may not be worth that, but by trusting people with an allocation like this, I think it gives engagement that you're not just going to be doing the bare minimum. Yeah.
And that's the hope, that this role is taken by those who actually want to engage through Twitter. They use it daily and they're interested in these topics and they kind of aligned with the singularity. And basically then it all just becomes symbolic and they have like the positive effect. So yeah, I think we came to conclusion that we're gonna have the $280 per month for a Twitter management role is sufficient. We did spend almost 40 minutes on this one action item. So what I propose is to take that as a first outcome, but come back to this and not actually another week. The question is, would you make a proposal out of that? So if everybody would take a role and choose a similar kind of thinking here, just one role, then next time we could look at these role suggestions and decide on the budgeting and the way it's done. And we could get quicker done this agenda item.
I totally agree. And I think that maybe the best course of action for this is kind of setting a table where we can like add some values, see the calculations change in real time. Perhaps it's less suited tomorrow. And this is something that like can be set up as a little task. I or someone else can set up for the in the coming days or weeks.
So I'm gonna park the sticky notes here, clean them up later, and jump to the next agenda item so that we could cover at least 2 of them today. So next agenda item, whoa, what's happening? Oh no, connection restored. Is integrating Swarm treasury system for Singularity Net and Treasury Guild. So that's continuation from the last time when we talked about implementing Treasury Guild, and also implementing along with that a new fee system which we created for the Swarm treasury. It created a new questions like how this fee affects Singularity Net, and what does the person change? What is the actual cost then? And we kind of came to the conclusion that we need some kind of a presentation of our proposal. So we have two results there. I think first I share what we did in Treasury Guild, and then David can also share his version. I already had it. Okay. Yeah, I was told that actually don't use Marathon, so let's try without it first. So the real thing what we did, so basically first I created the calculator to figure out, okay, how does a percent have effect? How does the cap have an effect on the treasury? And one thing I learned is that the cap is actually a very cool way to protect treasury funds. Another thing is that the fee doesn't really affect the price at all. And then on the other side, on the cost side of the Swarm team to manage the treasury is actually far beyond that these current like treasury fees would be able to cover. For example, there is, of course, costs can be always calculated in other ways, well, in various ways, but the way we slice it is that we take every person's time, like $50 per hour. And when we are in these kinds of auditing meetings where we import all the tasks, we check are they all right, import it to the database, and create the transaction, the bundle transaction, and audit, and like not audit, but also like outreach it, put it out to the community. In entire this pipeline, one downside is that we all together. So we do it in few hours. We get to do entire community work, but we do like 4 people times, like everybody's in the meeting at center. On one way, it's very important for us because we always kind of find new problems and new things we want to automate. And then we kind of relay the back information to the ones who create the items. We make new guides, new processes. And on the other side, we also automate how the stuff is like shown and visualized afterwards when buttons are pressed. And a lot of this activity is still like operational. So technically, on the Singularity Net side, I mean, with the latest tasks, when we did them, it takes about 10 minutes to take all the tasks in, and 50 minutes to and the 10 tasks is basically how much tasks we have right now, and then 50 minutes to do all the required things to put it outside in the work. And now if you times it 4 and we do it every week, the total cost per month is $640. And now if you put the fee on top of the treasury tasks, then what happens is actually the fee, in order to cover the costs, has to be like 100%. So assuming the fee of task is average $10 per task. So in overall, what I wanted to say is that currently the way it's worked out is not actually there. But now I do go into the Miro board and see what has to happen to make that sustainable, because there is actually a path to that. And one of the examples here is, let's say we have a fee percent, 5%, currently remove the cap because it really have any effect when we look at scale and the cost, what we actually have. If every task is now 20 AJX, which at that time was around, let's say, $10, then we need to have 335 tasks in order to actually cover the costs what we are doing. So what works in our case is that when we get huge amount of demand, and then actually the fee structure starts to make sense. I'm interested to actually explore that, because that scales with all the other communities. So SingularityNet, Treasury Guild or community could be one. On the Swarm side, we are also doing stuff, and any more partners we're getting to use that actually cheapens some way the entire process. And of course, it's also the cost of fee will actually have an effect the more we automate on the back end. So the more we are able to kind of streamline our operations. So there are a lot of rooms to grow. And what it actually shows is that we are very early at the way to provide like a feasible service to businesses. So yeah, this is from our side that if we include the fee right now and agree that let's use it, then we actually don't earn anything. We actually technically lose value, but we have different metrics we use for value. We have an impact, and we are trying to achieve something other than just monetary value. However, if it's possible from SingularityNet side, then we could perhaps do like a 2 months like a contract or like on a chain or something, that we get the cost of our delivery, the service, which is $640, or we also have like a secondary proposal that it's 800, which basically adds a little bonus to us of what we do. So all the things and all the updates and all the in-between stuff, which is not just about taking tasks in and rewarding them and bundle transactions, but all the discussions and ideas of how to improve the system is kind of small ways impacted also. And then in 2 months, we come back and see how many tasks we're able to scale. Are there now more? And then we kind of adjust the monthly tasks. So this is where we are at this. Do we have any questions?
I do. Yeah, in a way, makes me wonder how this would be affected, let's say, well, at the current token price, with the ambassador program budget being in tokens. We can afford this. That's not a problem right now. However, thinking back to like 3 months ago, $800 a month would be a quarter of the total budget. That's not the right way of spending the budget. So that makes me wonder, because it's in a way it's like it's not a flat fee, it's a percentage. So that makes me wonder if the rewards go down, USD value, if that also impacts the.
Yep, it totally affects that. It's the fun part that we also didn't really count in the token volatility into this, because it was already quite like a, God damn, this ain't easy at all. And yeah, if everything goes up, then it's super easy. Then it's basically gets dirt cheap. But yeah, when it goes down, then in the monthly way, it's just putting a lot of strain on the treasury. Yeah.
Perhaps this is a nice point where I can show you what I've been doing. I don't necessarily know the ins and outs, but my involvement has been kind of taking what Tiro has been showing us and trying to form it into a kind of live document which we can work with to create some financial models. This screenshot in the Mari board isn't live, so I can share my screen if you want and take you through the chart as it is on my computer. And I can show you a bit what we can do with the model in terms of kind of, yeah, a bit what we can look at and look at variables. Then perhaps this can help you guys with kind of working this out about scalability. And yeah, how does it sound?
Sure.
Yeah, fine by me. Looking at the clock, I don't have a hard stop at the full, but at the half hour. So just noting that.
Okay, cool.
There we go. Yeah.
Miro and Andre may have hard stop, but it's fine.
So here, this is the board, basically the thing. Here, I don't know whether this is best maybe to go through me and TiVo, but basically here you can hear these red ones. This I changed this number and it changes this fee cap percentage, and the fee cap number relates to these squares, although you won't see them change live. So if we take it, fee cap is 3%, say, then the chart changes and we see that the optimum number of tasks is 6 before the cost per task percentage to cap goes up. And for instance, here, if we go change it to 100, then it really like dramatically changes the graph. So this is something that we can look at between like the optimum number of tasks and how the fee cap percentage kind of affects it. Where are these optimum points? But yeah, that's basically it. So this doesn't work on Google because of the formulas, but I'll share the Google Sheet, so you'll need to download it in order to play around with the figures. So I'll post that, and yeah, that's it.
So basically that tool is then to realize where to put the cap percentage and fee caps, basically. Like a scale of, okay, when we go over 100 tasks, then the fee cap changes to this. If it goes over 1,000, then the fee cap changes to this. So kind of thinking ahead of the scale.
Yeah, thinking ahead of the scale, and also, for instance, yeah, you can play around with all these variables, like the number of bundles of transactions, say, and yeah, there's a few different things that's possible to play around to sort these questions out.
Yeah, when I was also doing some analysis, what I realized, and also when I presented, that the cost is so far ahead that I don't think there is no need to kind of think ahead on the scale of the task, which they don't have any particular effect. On the side, I think we could have like a statement that says that after month is over, we look at the results and then decide the actual payout, and if it makes sense, because yeah,
this is exactly like what you can do in here. Like you can carry on and actually I put examples of the figures in here, but then as we fill it out through days and weeks, then like it will track a live graph, which we'll be able to kind of reference.
Yeah, it does make me wonder. I'm completely happy to try. At the same time, thinking about the time and effort I put into the current situation, not having proper on-chain data. So that's in my mind at least would be the unique value proposition. Like I think I spend. I first of all, I do right now. I do it basically, and that's not the greatest, but it yeah, it's like maybe an hour a month. And that doesn't relate to $800, right? Yeah, it doesn't. However, that has all kind of downsides on not having proper on-chain data. The transparency is, well, not where I want it to be. It is there somewhat, and I do believe on the scaling side of things, this is a perfect solution. However, I'm just kind of wondering, like, it does need to make sense percentage-wise. Like we cannot spend half of the money on spending the other half of the money. That doesn't make sense to me.
To me, that sounds like it can be its own research project, you know. There's quite a few different variables.
And on the percentage size, I think we can kick off that experiment, because in order to reach the scale of $800, you need, like mentioned, over 335 tasks, which are rewarded with $10 worth of AGX. And right now we are actually in the second stage of barely reaching 50 people, 50 tasks. I do see that we're gonna scale, because Marketing Guild is building up now the robustness. If we also activate Process Guild, and yeah, I don't know how we're basically activating Treasury Guild is basically just figuring out the fee in my mind. That could create like 10 to 20 tasks more, but we still talk about like weekly tasks and not monthly. So we have a long ways to go.
And it's the same on the translation side of things, which, well, before the Marketing Guild started kicking up, was like the 80% of total tasks. But yeah, I think we're also quite happy to experiment there with supporting multiple languages, not just the currently 5, but maybe like 10, 15. So, you know, that would also scale a little bit on that side. Not too much, but a little bit.
On the other side, you mentioned that the request of Treasury is expensive because it's a fraction of the budget. But perhaps we could do it otherwise, that what is the proper fraction of Singularity Net's budget to do the payments? If you say 10th, then I don't know, it's about $300, which is of course already lower, but we already kind of see a compensation there. That when you scale, we also scale, but we have the cap that we never go over our cost. And if the AGS price drops, we also get less rewarded. So it's still fractionally staying.
Yeah, fair. Getting another phone call. Sorry.
Yeah, I was gonna ask too if any investor funds are currently going towards like TiVo or Swarm running these types of meetings too, because maybe in that Treasury budget as well, it's like, well, 3 of the Treasury people from Swarm do show up to these meetings at least twice a month for an hour. So that's a good amount of hours you guys are putting towards Treasury and the ambassador program right there, let alone like the actually doing the transactions and whatnot.
Yeah, so that's the other thing. There's so many hidden things which are kind of comes along with the entire process, but we didn't. We kind of try to keep it small.
What was the bottom line? Pretty much, you said, was it like around 800?
Yeah, 800 would be then signaling that it actually creates value for us. So it's not like this put as much as energy in as we get out. But there is that caveat that we do calculate everything business side in $50 per hour, because this is where we want to reach in the end. And the way we have handled our swarm funds are in kind of the same way. Like,
I guess if you took today's budget, that's sitting right around 3% of the funds, like per month, that are allocated to ambassador program.
and with Peter, he also mentioned that right now it feels like feasible. Then if it is feasible right now, perhaps let's add that caveat of if the AJAX price shrinks, then also reward shrinks for us. So we kind of are aligned with the token price as with the stuff, but we have that cap that if it increases, then we don't get rewarded more. If you say that currently it's feasible to pay on 800. And if not, then we can decide the lower amount, but when AJAX price goes up higher, then we are able to kind of get also credit for that.
I didn't catch the full past couple of sentences, but I do think we can commit to 800 for 2 months right now. That would be, we do have budget for that.
Yeah, it seems like a worthwhile experiment, especially that's only about 3% of the budget at today's price. And I think, tasks will scale up with deep funding town hall starting to be taken on more by the ambassador program. Marketing, we're finally getting things, I feel like, pretty well set up. I think we'll start seeing a lot more tasks as well. Having the on-chain data, you guys messing around with the gimbals, and then also like running these meetings at least twice a month is also really valuable, in my opinion.
Yeah, fully agree.
Like with marketing, it kind of helped jumpstart it a bit with rewarding meetings and making the engagement more about kind of workshop based. Are all the kind of workshops or meetings in the the ones each week, are they rewarded currently?
No, not with AGIX tokens, maybe with Jimbles.
Okay.
But that's also has a potential to scale horribly. Like, let's say all of a sudden
yeah, we actually, there are now 2 initiatives where I strongly feel that the participations like this should be rewarded with just reputation and not with actual monetary reward, because that changes the dynamics of how people actually play. And like, because we have a lot of positional power when we come to these meetings and are public and transparent and people see. And the way we kind of give us ourselves, look at me right now, I'm totally in a high bias. I'm basically have a product, our service, providing that and asking rewarded for that in Treasury that we already have. And I got in this position because I guess I've been along here for a while and the ticket tax value. It's another side. But yeah, so there is that basically that idea that you don't want to mix financial values into meetings where the amount of people can scale and they're open, transparent, because you most likely meet to create tasks which are rewarded.
I do have a question. Do you think like this is scalable? Do you think we would be able to have the depth of conversation that we do now if there were 20 or 40 or more? I don't know. For me, then it would there would need to be a whole new structure of like almost town hall with breakout rooms and kind of systems thinking style approach to the meetings. And that is a different thing in itself, I think, from than kind of everyone, I don't know, coming equal to the table, where there, for instance, with these meetings, there doesn't need to be much moderation.
Although I think it depends. To me, it requires a bit if you want to progress in eyes of others who are watching or kind of rooting for this group to deliver on what they're expecting. And actually, yeah, on other side, I have a open tab framework project where every meeting is paid $50 per hour every time, but everybody feels the same way, that this treasury finds out, then nobody gets money for every task, and we have that budget that do not do any meetings unless you actually have to, and then we have very few meetings, but everybody is rewarded for the time. Like heavily. So there are, I guess it's based on also dynamics. But right now we are in this group is more like decentralized and open.
Grassroots, yeah. I definitely see that a kind of filter is needed, that stops it being a kind of standard D-work task that's
more like a project with a bigger mind.
It ties back to the roles, right?
Yeah.
Like in a way, for me, like being in the it's not clearly defined right now, but I would say Crandano and you both are pushing very hard on leadership of the marketing guild. And in my mind, at least, then attending a marketing guild meeting would be more role-based than needed to be rewarded on an individual, hey, he showed up at the meeting base. But it would reflect in the role. And then part of the role would be attending the calls. But, yeah. I don't know. I never, initially at least, I mean, I'm very open to suggestions and changing stuff, but I never saw like participation in meetings as for the ambassador program, at least, as a task in itself to be rewarded monetarily, especially because, or precisely because, as Tivo said, like these meetings would be also at least partially dedicated to creating tasks, which are then awarded.
Yeah.
At the same time, I'm very open to the marketing guild to decide its own budget.
Yeah, I think it's, for instance, when I came into marketing guild, I thought I would have more time to kind of do the tasks, but I guess it's also a change in kind of realizing interest in more the systems thinking than the tasks. Yeah.
Right. Let's join
Yeah.
try to finalize the treasury fees. So because we are still experimenting fees, let's have then 1%. It will have an impact. So if you would look, maybe you can drop your share open. We can then figure out what does 1% mean. Unless I found the Excel myself, but it even still, just consider that 1% is basically almost nothing.
No, I think we can afford 1%. That's not an issue. I don't have the latest numbers. Spending went up of the total of our budget, but we're not at 99%. So
yeah, so 1%, and if you reach 300 tasks, which would be very nice, which will cost 67 bounty top, 67 AJX. So $30-40 extra if we reach that much with no cut.
yeah, that's fine.
And then we're able to kind of on chain see how this affects. Actually, we also have a treasury coil, no treasury, we have singularity net proposal in closing, and then we're able also add that there and say, hey, one of our services, we were able to test it and add it as achievement. So the things intertwine. So another question on top of that. So when we agreed this, would you mind if we already implement the treasury system next week by Tuesday? So we try to export every audited task on DWork. So what that means is that although it could go slightly confusing at the start when not everybody aligned. I'm gonna right now explain what I mean. So when you go, let's take marketing coil. So all the tasks next Tuesday, everything which has audited tag, do you have audited tag status? If you have that in here, then it means that somebody has checked the task and they want to get that paid out. Now everybody in the assigned list will get 54 AJAX. So this is how it kind of works, and with all the rewards in SingulaριtyNet are bundled together into one bundle transaction. If multiple people are in different tasks, then all the rewards are kind of calculated, aggregated together, so that they got separate rewards. So all in one transaction. All the tasks, all the stuff are on metadata. In the way it's metadata, it's like title and task label. For now, we only have one task label, so most of the stuff probably is like operational or community management or engagement or something similar. Yeah, any questions? And then basically after the Tuesday on process Guild or in next Treasury Guild, I show the costs, or maybe somewhere in beta synchronously I show how much we paid out of Swarm. And then next Treasury Guild, we also let that information right now sink into those who watch and also announce that in the Discord. So if everybody in 2 weeks of time says, no, stop there, I think we need to discuss that. We don't go through with the payments. And then we kind of stop doing stuff. But how does that sound? Like, should we agree to kind of start with it the way? Same with the translator tasks, if there are any.
Yeah, makes sense. I guess it would be nice to then have a basically like a kickoff session or a syncing session where the whole debug is in tip-top shape from then on to be used with like procedures which fit.
Mm-hmm.
Would you like us to go like check marketing, Peter, and see which tasks that haven't been paid out yet? We could move it back into the column and put audited. That way Swarm can do it. Would that help you out, or?
Definitely. Yeah, you can see on the sheet. I think pretty much everything of the marketing board is not paid yet.
Okay.
But you can find it back a little bit. In the sheet. I think maybe the video one is included, and maybe 1 or 2 other ones, but there's quite some remaining.
Nice, I can do that.
Over the just extra information. So every task which doesn't have gimbals, it's then one task point is 100 gimbals. If task doesn't have AJAX, there is a new rule from Swarm that every task gets at least 2 AJAX, so that we have slightly some information.
Yeah,
so that's an extra stuff. And yeah, basically, you probably, if you're gonna do any mistakes on titles or information, we come back to you and say, hey, you can't use actually this weird symbol in the title because our systems don't work with that, or you can't have duplicate names in titles or duplicate names with duplicate people in titles because that's like double payment, or it's all these small nitty-gritty things which you're gonna perhaps feel.
Thibaut, you guys do gimbals as well. Is that something you want us to put in the title of things? And if so,
no, you
okay.
don't have to put that. Yeah, they don't have. If you also pay in USD or dollars, then the ticker is USD, and then it's currently in our system, it's converted into ADA, but we will, on that side, I can...
To have that included, because, well, for example, the one that just showed on screen was the meeting attendance for 54 AGIX, which at that time was calculated for $10. But if it at the moment of distribution, it will be like 25-ish. which in itself is not a super big problem, but I do think it makes more sense to use like USD values and then at moment of distribution, figure out the exact amount of AGIX. But that's a personal preference, and I don't know, also up for discussion.
But from Treasury side, it can be automated. So.
And does Swarm Treasury, is that once a week or a once a month thing for you guys, or how does that work out?
Every week, Tuesday, we will sit down and take all the tasks in and do all the transactions. On Mondays, we sometimes already start cleaning ports, depends on the amount of people going crazy.
I think there should be some consensus about the changing or keeping the AGIX, and yeah, we changed it up from 50 to 54 one day, and then we stopped using that. And I think from the marketing perspective, it's kind of very confusing, and I think it would be really good to kind of get a procedure that we kind of implement, but I don't think that should be to I think like up until the point that it's initiated, I think that if someone done a task months ago that was $10 an hour and now it's worth much more, I don't think that that person should pay for not like being a debt collector immediately and getting their tokens, because that's the other option of if which will kind of
No, definitely. I mean, if the task was agreed on day work and appointed within a mention of AGIX amount, we should honor that.
Yeah,
that's straightforward to me.
Yeah, and I think it would just be good to get some kind of systematic thing going so that yeah, just cleans it all up.
I'm pretty sure this will over the coming week or maybe two will settle down into clear procedures.
Yeah, man.
And on another side, I would say that be yourself, don't stick to the procedure and do the way you work the best. And when we have like 2 or 3 bounty hunters, my hope is that our system could cover all your processes in the same way and the same time. But yeah, keep in mind there are also other people on the same board, so you want to at least be on the same line of what some status means. Or if you are not a reviewer of a task, should you change the status of the task or move it around?
Yeah, that happened. It's like people moving it to done, and it's like off my radar. And then a little while later, like, why didn't I get tokens for this?
Yeah.
If I have this I've had this trouble a lot. I talked to Felix about it actually, and he showed me how he's doing it. Because what I've been doing is when it's in to do or I think it's in progress or in to do, when I click submit, when someone submits the work and I click like assign or approve, then it automatically takes it over review and into done. So Felix was saying, well, Felix showed me how he's doing it, which is he moves it manually into review and then adds like assigns each one individually, and then it doesn't jump automatically to done. So that's the trouble that I was finding that managed to overcome. It's really useful.
This is a way to operate now, because audited means, or yeah, in the Treasury system, it means that audited, that your work is done, and done means that the task is in a database to be paid, and it's off the board. It doesn't still mean that the person is rewarded for that, because there are situations where the wallet address is missing, but we still want to get rid of the tasks. Anyway, we had a great conversation today. We took 2 agenda items. We were more through with our discussions this time. We went over time. It happens. But I think I will stop the recording now. Still make an overview video just in case somebody wants to a quicker glance of what we discussed. Thank you for watching. We got 2 decisions out.
Yeah, good
Mark.
stuff. Great pitch as well. I mean,